dog sledding in the Arctic Circle under a full moon. It's pretty awesome. We are in a traditional Sami lavu. Dog sledding was amazing through the most majestic looking valleys and mountains I've ever experienced in my life. It's really incredible.
Have you ever done something crazy? Have you ever taken the trip of a lifetime and experienced something so wonderful it changed you forever? Well, what you just saw was my experience of doing that very thing. My boyfriend at the time and I decided we were going to take a trip to the United Kingdom. And we figured, since flights were cheap, why not go to Norway too? So we did. We booked some tickets. And after doing that, I thought to myself, there is no way I am going to Norway in the dead of winter, in January, without snow-certified boots. We took a flight to Oslo, and after getting over the shock of the kroner exchange, some of the people in here know what I'm talking about, we took another plane to Tromsø, where our guides picked us up and took us further into the Arctic wilderness. City, lights fading behind us, our anticipation mounting. We didn't know what to expect. We eventually arrived at a small, heated hut. And inside, we were instructed to change our clothes from head to toe. Snowsuits, thermals, woolly sweaters, hats, special gloves, and headlamps. When we got to our boots, our guide smiled, and he looked down. Those are some good boots. We were allowed to keep them on. After we were dressed, we went outside, and we met our Sami guide. The Sami are nomadic reindeer herdsmen of Norway. After speaking with him, talking to him about his culture, I can offer you this one piece of advice. Never ask a Sami how many reindeer he has. It's extremely rude. And it's sort of the equivalent of asking a person their net worth when you first meet them. I was lucky he didn't take offense, and he was used to these types of questions from foreigners like me. We got back into the van and traveled to the dog camp. Upon opening the door, we were greeted by 25 barking dogs, yips, howling. The anticipation was mind-blowing. Our guide talked to us about the dogs. They were various Arctic hybrid mixes, Malamutes, Huskies, barking, tails wagging, pulling on the leashes. They knew what to expect. We didn't. There were 2 wooden sleds with a team of 6 dogs attached to each one with reins. Our guide would take one sled. My boyfriend and I would take the other. That's it, just the 3 of us and the dogs. We were given some commands, shura, which means go, and stoppa, which means stop. Can you say it with me? Shura. Shura. Stoppa. Those are the 2 most important phrases of Norwegian to know, okay? We talked a little bit more after the commands, And our guide said, in the event of a crash, the passenger, this was going to be me, because my boyfriend was going to stand behind the sled, okay, and I was going to sit and be the passenger. In the event of the crash, the passenger, me, was instructed to throw myself off the sled like this, hopefully into a snowbank and not a tree. But you never know. That was it. My boyfriend looked at me. Are you ready? I'm ready. The guide went to her sled. She took off with her team. He grabbed the reins and shura! We were off. It was amazing. Racing through the woods, over the snow, the mountains looming past us. It was the most incredible feeling ever. Our breath billowing. It was amazing. We go through the valleys, through the mountains, and then she waved at us to slow down. You know, stoppa with the brake. She came back to us and said, you guys are doing such a great job. And then she looked at me and she said, do you want to drive? Me? Drive a dog sled? Are you crazy? No, no way. No, thank you. Are you sure? She said. I'm sure. Thank you. More than sure. I'm fine. All I could think about was all of the horrible things that could happen to me. I could drive the sled into a river. We could hit a tree. Could break a limb. I could hurt the dogs. I could hurt my boyfriend. I could hurt me. No, no way. Thank you. My boyfriend looked at me and he grabbed my arm and he looked into my eyes. Are you sure? He said. I thought about it. I looked at the moon, I looked at the stars, and I looked at the dogs. And I thought to myself, if I never do this, I will regret this for the rest of my life. We've all had those moments. I smiled at him into his shining eyes, and I looked at her. Okay, I'll do it. Tell me those commands again, please. Shura! Stoppa! Patted me on the back. You got this. You can stop. The brake's here. You got this. Just push down. It'll slow the sled. My boyfriend took his position as the passenger, and I went behind the sled. Felt like I was driving a car for the first time. Okay? We all remember that, right? Except there's no ignition key. You can't turn it on. You can't really turn it off. You're at the mercy of the dogs in front of you. He smiled at me, my boyfriend. You got this, babe. All right. I picked up the reins, and shura, we were off. Through the valleys, through the mountains, the moon, my heart thundering in my snowsuit. It was incredible. The dogs yipping, howling, branches narrowly missing them. It was the most amazing feeling. Suddenly, though, I realized that the creeks were rivers. We were going over bridges no bigger than our sled, me counterbalancing my weight to keep us from falling over and off. I suddenly felt and realized that it looked a lot more dangerous than I had remembered as a passenger. What was happening here? This was not the bunny slope, okay? I found out later that she thought I was doing so well that she took me down the advanced professional course. No wonder. After going on the sled, making our way, she took us back to camp. She said, I'll take care of those dogs. You and your boyfriend go inside the lavvu. There's reindeer stew waiting for you. It's warm, it's cozy, and you can take a moment to process what you had just experienced. Inside the lavvu was a little potbelly stove with a roaring fire and a pile of logs right next to it. Wrapped in polar sleeping bags and reindeer skins, we hunkered down. And we started to talk, my boyfriend and I. We talked about our hopes, our dreams, our fears, and our wishes. It was one of the best conversations of my life. I looked at the stars and the moon again, visible from the top of our lavvu, and I said to myself, this is perfect. I don't know how this night could get any better. The fire started to fade. And my boyfriend looked at me and said, hey, babe, I think I'm gonna put another log on the fire. Sure, but you know what? Not too big of a log. Because, it's late, I'm tired, I don't know what time it is, no reception. So not too big of a log, okay? Okay. So he reaches down next to the woodpile and pulls out the most amazing emerald ring that I had ever seen in my life. I was expecting a log, but he gave me a rock. And he asked me to marry him. He's my husband now. I think he did well. I can now say that if I had never gone on that sled and picked up those reins, I never would have known what I was capable of, and I never would have experienced that magical night. So my point is, I pushed myself. Everything in me screamed to not do this, to not give it a try, to stay seated. But you know what? I did it anyways, and I loved it. I can now say that I have mushed a dog sled in the Norwegian Arctic Circle. I've never regretted it. So, in your lives, when you have a chance or an opportunity to do something crazy, to go outside your comfort zone, and your heart or your body says stop, that is a sign to think maybe about leaping, to take the chance, go on an adventure, do something that makes you nervous. Because this is how the greatest experiences of our lives happen, and the stories that touch our hearts really occur. So I urge all of you to pick up your reins and shora! Thank you.